Well, hi, and welcome to Overtime. We have a special guest, Cait Nielson, who's going to ask some special questions today. She's kind of running Utah Jazz history. Am I close on that, Cait?
Yep, that's right. I have an Instagram page called Utah Jazz History. My first question for you is: so, as a rookie, you played behind Ricky Green for about 3 years, 3 seasons. And I know that you've talked about how much you are so grateful for that time to learn from him. Who would you say is your mentor in the NBA or the person that you felt you learned the most from?
Well, certainly from a position standpoint, just watching Ricky, he was an all-star the year before I got there. And really they started the wave of winning in Utah. And so to follow those guys, him, Daryl Griffith, Adrian Dantley, Mark Eaton, Thurl Bailey, these guys were all pretty special to me because they already knew how to win. I didn't have to fight through that battle. But the guys that persisted, Thurl Bailey, um, was just a great mentor and friend, as was Mark Eaton. They both met me very soon after the draft and welcomed me to the team. I just felt right at home right away, and they'll always be special to me.
Fantastic. So speaking of welcoming you to the team, what do you would you say is your welcome to the NBA moment? I know that Baron Davis mentioned in an interview recently that his welcome to the NBA moment was getting totally schooled by you. So what would you say was your welcome to the NBA moment?
Well, I probably a couple. I remember once Kansas City before they became the Sacramento Kings. We played there. It was either an exhibition game or the first game. I think it was the last exhibition game. And I'm playing, and there wasn't many people in the gym because they were leaving. And I remember number one, a guy by the name of Larry Drew. I'm dribbling the ball up the court. He just kind of darted at the ball and stole it from me. It's a great trick, and I borrowed it in future years. So that was a nice thing, saying, "Hey, look, these guys can really play." But I remembered hearing a guy in the crowd, which I'm really not prone to hearing people in the crowd, but it was so quiet in the gym, and somebody said, "Stockton, CBA," which was the Continental Basketball League. He thought I belonged in a lower league. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my moment. If you take practices out of the equation, that is.
Hmm. Perfect. So did you and Carl quick click quickly, or did you feel like the chemistry took some time to build? And how did you guys maintain that chemistry throughout the seasons that you played together?
Well, it's easy to have chemistry with a guy like Carl Malone. He truly is one of the greatest ever to play the game. He's very high on my list. He can catch the ball at his shoelaces in full sprint with guys dragging on, holding on to him, and he can still finish the shot. It's just a man child when it came to defending. There's just so many aspects of the game that if you're paying a little bit of attention, you're going to have a rapport with him instantly because he just has so many, um, I don't know, strong points about his game. He can catch everything. He can pass. He can shoot. He can run. So yeah, that chemistry clicked right away. He was a very young player. I was a very young player, and it just seemed he caught everything I threw. So that was easy to keep trying things because he would catch it.
Awesome. So if you could team up with any player, past or present, that wasn't one of your teammates, who would you want to play with?
Well, there's a lot of guys. I was fortunate enough to play with the dream team, and you could take almost anybody off of that list and do so. Just right off the top of my head, I'd say David Robinson. He was just first of all the type of person he is. I mean, just what a gentleman, smart, athletic. I mean, he just has the whole package. Just has outstanding family. Um, yeah, I would probably say him.
Awesome. Great. So as I explained already, I am a jersey collector and a memorabilia collector. And we just love to, understand the stories behind the pieces that we have. So do you have the jersey from the shot in Houston, or do you have any other memorabilia that is, important to you, that you cherish?
Um, Not really. I don't, unless our trainer Terry Clark saved that. I wouldn't even occurred to me to do so. So unless he did, he had the foresight to do that, then no. Um, I'm not a big memorabilia collector. I know we have stuff. My wife has saved stuff for our kids, but I don't keep really good tabs on it.
Okay, interesting. Did you ever do any jersey swaps with any players, or is that kind of a more recent thing?
No, I'm a little bit offended by the jersey swaps, frankly. The whole notion. I mean, I looked at it as the jersey belongs to the team. I mean,
Okay.
at the end of the season, if we were lucky enough, they'd let us take a jersey home or something. But for the most, early part of my career, they were saving the jerseys for next year.
Yeah.
I wore college jerseys for 4 years, and then so did the guys after me wore the same jerseys. So I never thought it was mine to share.
That's interesting that you say that because I mean the jersey culture has really changed now. I mean players are wearing one jersey sometimes per quarter and getting a brand new one, and so there are just so many jerseys now out there. That's one of the reasons that I like collecting from 70s, 80s, and 90s only is because like that jersey, this one was worn by Hornacek for the whole season, and that's it, you know. And he didn't have any other jersey, and so that's interesting that you bring that up. But
Yeah.
um, cool. So, which arena on the road do you think was the toughest to play in?
Um, well, not so much me. I enjoyed playing in other arenas, and I never felt like the crowd was so overwhelming that it was a problem. I know that I live. I mean, I live in Washington State, and the Supersonics was a tough place for my family to watch games. I know when my brother would drive over with his family, um, it seemed maybe it's because I was the only places they sat in the stands, but it seemed extra course to them.
Okay.
But for me on the court, there was no one place where I just said, "Oh gosh, we're in big trouble here."
Yeah. Is
Usually,
there
everything to do with the team.
okay, yeah. Is there a place that you enjoyed going to just because it was fun to travel there, or where would that be?
I actually enjoyed going to Portland. I had
Okay.
friends there. We had played there in college at the same building, and it just seemed like the fans there appreciated. It wasn't just, "Hey, we hate you because you're the other team." There was an appreciation for good play, whether it was their team or your team, and I think there was something about it, and it was closer to home too.
Yeah.
Good.
Awesome. So you spent majority of your career playing for Jerry Sloan. What was your favorite memory with Jerry on the court and off the court?
Well, off the court, when I had a chance to visit his farm, my whole family, we went back there and got to see him in his element with his feet in the dirt. And that
It's
was just,
tractors.
yeah, very special. On the court, I don't know if I can or want to share them. I mean, I know that you could count on Jerry. If that fight broke out in the court, you knew he would be there. So before you could even react, he was a guy that stuck up for you and was in that foxhole with you every day. So I could probably pick out 20 right off the top of my head, but I wouldn't want to repeat them.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Um, Another question kind of related to that. So I know that you talked about in your book that when you were on the road, you would spend time with, you know, Hot Rod or Coach Sloan and other teammates in the hotel bar and just hanging out. Do you have any specific memories or favorite moments from those nights together?
Again, not so much special specific moments to that night. I miss that part of playing probably more than anything. And it wasn't like if you in those days we played that night, we always stayed in that town. You couldn't. There were no
Hmm.
charters, so you'd go out and eat, and you'd come back, and the hotel bar was open. I mean, you walk through the lobby, and there it is, and you'd see the coaches in there, or Hot Rod, and you might poke your head in there and just say, "Hey, what's up?" And sometimes they'd make fun of me. It's like, "Oh, could you believe you did this tonight in the game?" And it was so relaxed, and we actually accomplished quite a bit in trying to figure out how to get better as a team just by shooting the breeze there for a while. And it's something I definitely miss with all those guys. Phil Johnson was another one, our assistant coach. He was a guy I'd plugged down to a lot, and we talked some strategy.
Hmm. That's awesome. Okay, so I know that you were nervous to spend your money when you first started in the NBA because you were worried that you weren't gonna, you know, stick around or make it. What was the moment or, you know, time that you kind of felt like, okay, I've made it and I'm established and this is gonna be like a successful career?
I think there's always doubt, literally almost to the end. It's and contracts are one thing because contracts kind of tell you you're going to be there for 3 years. You're going to be there
Hmm.
for, or at least you're going to have a check coming in for 3 or 4 years. But that doesn't translate to the court. Trying to prove it every night that you belong to your teammate. You're trying to represent yourself and your teammates and your organization and your family and everybody else. So I don't know if that ever ended. It was pretty constant.
Okay. Was there ever a moment that you were worried that you would be traded or you wanted to be traded? You're interested in playing for another team?
No. Well, maybe back to those first couple of years, anything can happen. I just felt it's going to sound corny. I always felt loved in Utah, both by the town, by the organization, by the owners. And I guess if they traded me, they traded me. But I certainly never worried about it. Not even one moment.
Good. Okay, cool. So who was your favorite player to compete against and why?
Boy, some great tussles. There were usually the great players. I mean, Isaiah Thomas. We only played twice a year, and he was one that because I played against him once in high school, and I idolized him from that point forward.
Hmm.
He was so special then. He really changed the bar for me at a young age. And in the league, there's a number of guys, especially out west. I mean, Kevin Johnson, Terry Porter, Gary Payton later on. There was just one after the other after the other. So, but I look forward to those guys that were looking forward, I guess, to playing us too.
Cool. So as an NBA player, did you feel like you would create relationships like friendships almost with these people on these other teams, or was it always just kind of a business relationship?
Not when you're playing. No, it was
Yeah.
we. It's funny. You're part of a fraternity, and I don't think one of the most enjoyable things since I've retired is you'll bump into a guy who maybe you in our terms you hated their guts when you played against them, and you
Hmm.
immediately can strike up a conversation like you were roommates.
Yeah.
It's that special of a relationship, and it's happened over and over and over again. So no, we weren't cultivating those other than we were trying to beat them, and I think there's respect with that as well.
Cool. So you only missed 22 games in your entire career. How did you find the motivation to play on nights where you maybe were sick or just exhausted or injured? And how do you feel about the load management today and players who are missing more games in a season than you did in your entire 19 seasons combined?
I looked at it as a privilege and honor to get to play every game, and I treated rat ball games the same way. Why do this if you're not going to lay it all out there? And so I mean, I remember almost crying when I had to hear the national anthem, the first game that I missed, and it felt the same way the other ones. Um, as for those guys, listen, they're being told by experts that this, that, and the other thing. I think it's bad for the game. I think it's bad for them individually. The worst part about it is it's bad for the game, and it isn't bearing out where they're more healthy either.
Hmm.
I think an athlete, you train yourself for the most extreme situations, which is 48 minutes, 4 games in 5 nights. You train yourself for that. And anything less is doing yourself a disservice. So I think it's a disservice from personal level all the way to organizational and fan level. It's awful.
Speaking of how the game has kind of changed since you've retired, especially the point guard position, do you feel like the game has changed for the better in the like emphasis on three pointers, or how do you feel like you would have had to adjust your play style to today's basketball?
Well, everything's an adjustment. When I came out of college, I hadn't taken a 3 point shot. There were no 3 point shots until I was 23 years old. So there was never, we didn't have practices for it. We didn't have, the rebounding machines, none of the above. And yet we adapted and became where we could shoot those. Now I think it's a less attractive game. It's a less competitive game. It's a less of a gladiator game, which I think people miss. Um, that's not to say there aren't great things about it. I know people love it, and but I want to see people lay it all out there and like gladiators and have it mean something to them. So that's my preference, but without ripping what's going on now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know a lot of the fans and people that I talk to feel the same as way. Would you ever consider coaching in the NBA?
Well, I think I've got that window has kind of passed for me. I'm no spring chicken anymore, and I don't know that anybody would want my input, particularly with the exceptions being, well, I don't want to be there when my grandkids are having birthdays, and I don't want to be there when So I think that ship has sailed. It certainly would have been interest at one point in time to be able to speak with such talented people and be able to possibly add just a little tiny element to what's already terrific and have them implement it right away. I think that would be exciting and fun. But again, there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more work and a lot more time away from home. So,
Yeah,
you know,
totally. Was that something that you were interested in after you retired, or not really? You were just kind of ready to hang up the towel?
no, when I retired, I couldn't imagine doing the parts I didn't like. the travel and being gone and not get to play. Yeah, I don't think
Mhm.
so. So no, it wasn't very exciting right from the start.
Gotcha. So my last question for you is, do you still follow the Jazz today, and kind of what are your thoughts on their strategy right now and what they're doing?
I wouldn't say I follow them. I haven't seen a game, and it's not trying not to watch it. I still have four of my own children that are playing in various leagues around the world. So I have plenty of basketball, and I enjoy it. I still think it's the greatest game around. But I haven't been tracking. I know that there doesn't seem to be a mission to win, and that if that's true, that's frustrating because I think that culture is so hard to come by. I knew how hard it was for the Utah Jazz to become a winning organization to begin with, and I came in on the tail end of that, and I got to build from that with my teammates. But I wouldn't give up that fight to try to win every single game, every single quarter for anything, for draft
Hmm.
choices, for future anything, because the future, it moves.
Yeah, and I think that's really a testament of the shift of the game and how things have changed so much from the time that you play. I think the richest part of Utah's history is that season right before when you came in the team with Hart, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, and Coach Layden's contributions to that, and how that really got the ball rolling for Utah's success and kept Utah or the Jazz in Utah. And I don't know. I know I'm so grateful, and so many other people are so grateful for just the fight that you all brought to make Utah a successful organization. And I just wanted to ask you one last question. What does this podcast mean to you? And what's your mission here? What are you trying to share with people?
Wow, it's a complicated and yet simple mission. We started with Voices for Medical Freedom, where we just feel like people have the right to have bodily autonomy to say what goes and doesn't go into your body, and it would seem like we were losing that right, but it became a battle for freedom. And with freedom, it's you want to be educated, you want to understand some of the alternatives that are out there. So we're just trying to share things. Ken and I are trying to share things that we've experienced that have been great for us that not everybody gets to hear. That whether that's health, whether that's freedom, whether that's sometimes politics or special interests. It's been a great opportunity for us to meet great people who are brilliant and share their stories and get to know them and their stories.
Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate
Well,
that.
that ends our session with you, Cait. Thank you for coming on and thank you for joining the Ultimate Assist. If you want to join and have a chance to ask some questions, you can reach us at info@theultimateassist.com. Thank you very much.